unlikely change in circumstances.
Mr. Chair.
Chris Ockenvold.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to join with the Chair of the Select Committee in commending this bill. It has been under consideration and thought for some considerable time, and now I don't have an explanation for that. But I'm not the Minister. The bill is a useful bill, and it's an adjunct in many ways to the bill that we have been discussing earlier in the evening. And the point that the Honourable Ruth Dyson made, I'd just like to refer to, because the opposition members of the Select Committee did oppose the clause in the bill, clause 18, I think it was, that protects the Crown Ministers and officials from liability as a result of the service, unless they acted in bad faith, in which case there is no protection for them. Or if they were grossly negligent, there's no protection for them. But this clause has been retained on the basis that the service is provided on an opt-in basis and contains numerous protections for the members of the public. It was an interesting one to debate, and what I particularly like about select committees, especially with the officials that we had on this particular case, they were quite comfortable about giving us examples of when this service could be used. And the bill helps combat identity fraud by preventing the use of fake identities, and prevents the extended use of it extends the use of web-based data validation service to public and private sector agencies on a strictly need-to-know basis. It allows agencies to check whether the identity information presented by a customer is consistent with that held by the Department of Internal Affairs through citizenship registers, passport database and the various registers of the Births, Deaths and Marriages Registry Office. And as the Honourable Ruth Dyson has just said, there are many occasions when small identity changes occur. But it did make me reflect back on my own experience of having my bank cards nicked. And I have. Well, I've lived a full life, Mr. Parfoy, a full life, protected from nothing. Protected from nothing. But when I had these cards stolen, I somewhat naively told the police that they would be a little use to the person who had stolen them, because I'd already reported them as stolen, so they'd be invalid. And they gazed at the sky, they rolled their eyes, and they said, "We'll see you in about a month. The cards will already have been stolen and sold, and they'll already be being used." And it was, I think, about 6 weeks later, I started getting final demands for payment of accounts. The accounts had been opened using my cards as an identity in shops, and I'm sticking with it, in shops that I had never, ever been near. And so I'm beginning to wonder if I should have embarked on this line. But it is very, very important. Because we take things like security of identity as a given, whereas it isn't. It isn't like that at all. And it isn't a nice, honest life out there, no matter how naive I may be. There are people who want to do you ill. This will help ensure compliance with the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Finance of the Terrorism Act, 2009. And that requires banks and other financial institutions to undertake more comprehensive Know Your Customer checks. It's an important tool in preventing identity fraud and reducing compliance costs. Mr. Chairman, there will be many other aspects of this bill, which is a nice, tidy little bill. It'll be very effective. I'm pretty sure it will. And again, the officials applied themselves, I think, assiduously in ensuring that the questions diligently raised by members of the committee were answered to the fullest extent. And so, assiduous and diligent. I'd hate anyone to think that this committee, under Ruth Dyson's chairmanship, was in any way, well, it was, thank you for that, but they're certainly not in any way casual about the approach. So, while I can appreciate the opposition say, "Oh, it would be different if it came up now," I'm not completely sure that it would, because I'm not sure how much more diligent we could have been than when we did. I'll leave it at that stage, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chair, because there will be other aspects of this bill which will come up under Part 2 that I wish to speak on. Thank you.
Claire Curran.
Thanks, Mr Chair. I'd like to say in the committee stage